As I mentioned in the previous video, I already knew that I was going to be getting a couple of duplicates in this box when I bought it. So I'm going to go over those real quickly before I actually finish off unboxing all the other things that I don't have at this point. So first up is Trigger Machine Siren Striker, which is the big final last of the Trigger Machines. And appropriately, it's a giant tank. Okay. With tractor treads and everything. Tractor treads and cannons and missile launchers and yep, another one of these plain boring ass, you know, totally disappears along with all the other red plastic strobe lights, you know. Although it does have additional ones here, which is really frustrating. And I'm going to say it again because how many more times am I going to have the opportunity to say it? The red here, which by the way is ABS plastic and it's hollow. So you can it's totally hollow right there. You can see it's hollow. It just blends in with all the other ordinary plain red plastic. It just blends in, completely disappears. It should have stood out. You know, at least these three right here. Like you can do whatever you want to with the trigger. I don't care. But like these three should have been flashing lights. They should have been strobe lights, but they're not. Semi-transparent, you know? That's what it should have been. Alas, it was not. So, and after all this time, hello, get off there. All right, snaps there. After all this time, uh, it's still kind of interesting. Like, what the crap is this thing? I don't even. Yeah. So, yeah, here's the attack mode or whatever it is. It's kind of unusually tricky, and I mentioned this when I unboxed this 4 years ago, by the way, and you can tell because of all the dust that's gathered on it, if you can see it. It actually is a little tricky getting these on here. You have to make certain that the cannons are down, and you're kind of actively pressing down as you squeeze the thing back together. But, yep, there's the Trigger Machine Siren Striker in its attack mode, or whatever. Oh, there you go. There's some proper dust right there. Right under the cannon barrel there. There you go. So see, yeah, I've had this for a while now. So yeah, I've had it on the shelf for a while. Um, oh, and then there's the Patranger logo right there, printed on. So yeah, this is one of those occasions where it's a vehicle that like doesn't exist in reality unless you want to. I mean, I thought of it at the time as like it's a SWAT vehicle or something like that. You know, a SWAT tank, which you know tanks do exist for such purposes. Although whether they have tractor treads or not, I don't. I honestly don't know. I can't speak to that. Presumably because it can operate on highways, you would not be using tractor treads. Instead, you'd use rubber tires. I digress. But in terms of vehicles that do or don't exist, even compared to the Splash Dial Fighter, this one's kind of fairly unique and fairly ridiculous and very much not a police vehicle. This is a military vehicle, but it's a police vehicle for some reason, or at least I'd like to think it is. I don't know. I think I've kind of like the lack of paint applications. I mean, that don't get me wrong. The head, which I'll be getting into in a few minutes here, the head design is nice. I like it. It's just kind of not police vehicle-ish, you know, whatever. So, anyways, let's get this thing involved with the. Let's see. It's a trigger machine, so you do it this way. However, the Siren Striker, much like the Trigger Machine Splash, is also owned and operated by the Lupinranger. Like this is the final trigger machine. This is the last trigger machine that's given to the show or given to the Patranger, and they never get their hands on it. No, I take it back. Petarin X, or no, would it be Lupin X? Yeah, it'd be Lupin X. He lets them use it like once or twice or something like that. But yeah, so whatever. So am I supposed to do it like this, or am I supposed to do it like this? I think for simplicity's sake, I'll do it this way. I mean, it is a trigger machine after all. Siren Striker! Great Patronize! I hadn't thought of a pose for that one yet. Daggone it. Now, something interesting to note about the Siren Striker and how it interacts with the Versus Changer, aside from the fact that, oh yeah, I've actually correctly turned it upwards this time as opposed to the splash where I turned it downwards accidentally. Sorry. What's interesting is that the Versus Changer, I might as well say it here, the Versus Changer was a first wave toy, and Siren Striker, Trigger Machine Siren Striker, was final wave! Couldn't help myself. And yet, the Versachanger needed to know all of these things ahead of time. So it's actually interesting commentary, and it's actually further proof that the writers of Lupinranger versus Patranger changed the direction of the toy line after the show began. Because this toy, the Versus Changer, very specifically treats this like a trigger machine. It also treats Splash like a trigger machine. So it says Patranger, and then it says Great Patranger, whatever it is. I haven't memorized it yet. But these are treated as Patranger versus vehicles, as opposed to being Dial Fighter Lupinranger stuff. So it's an interesting contrast, or rather, it's interesting how the storyline of the series changed compared to how the toys were explained away. So. And I want to say that the blasting sound there is pretty much the same as the basic three what are they called, trigger machines. So Ichigo, Nigo, and Sango, all three of them make this sound. It's kind of a shotgun sound effect. Well, it's the same issue here. So, anyways, let's get you launched. Still treating it like a trigger machine operated by the Patranger. And what's also interesting is that's very much not a tank sound. Actually it's the exact same sound that comes out of the Good Striker. By the way, Good Striker, Siren Striker, and I've got Victory Striker in the box. So I wonder if those three are somehow related to each other, something like that. Anyways, I mean, other than by name. So yeah. And we're back to just the standard pew pew sound effects. So I should point out it also is possible, because this is a trigger machine. Yeah, you can also, actually, I'm going to save myself the trouble. Flip this over. You can also, yes, treat this as a trigger machine. Flipped it from both. So, like, as far as the toy is concerned, even though I had it flipped up just now, it still behaves exactly the same doing it this way as it does if you have it flipped the other way around. So, I mean, you can flip it. I mean, technically, officially, this is how you're supposed to do it. But in the show, the Lupinranger use it. Lupinranger use it, so you would turn it upwards. But obviously with the toy, you can do it either way. It doesn't really matter. And it'll function just fine either way. Right, it doesn't know which is which. Great way to end this segment. Oh boy. I'm trying to rush, because I don't want to spend a lot of time on Siren Striker. And this is what I get for rushing through it, so... Okay, and away it goes. Woohoo! This is going to be a bad video. I just know it. Like 10 minutes in, this is going to be a bad video. I just know it. Much like with LupinKaiser Splash Magic, Siren LupinKaiser doesn't actually use any of the original three Versus vehicles, or rather Dial Fighters, that are used by the Lupinranger. You don't see blue, yellow, or even red present on this one. So we're going to trigger this, and that just pops that open. going to fold open tractor treads to either side. And we'll fold this back down. Attach this here. We'll get back to that in a moment. Fold this down. Fold the chest boner up and make certain that these are down. And there you have, at long last... No, wait, is this open or close? I don't remember. I don't think it really matters either way, because it uses the open hand no matter what. Yeah, I guess I'll have the open hand, because it is the ultimate form. Ladies and gentlemen, at long last, Siren LupinKaiser. Notice also that rather than naming it LupinKaiser such and such, now it's being called based upon which versus vehicle is sitting in the center here. So this is Siren LupinKaiser. Presumably, if you stick any of the other versus vehicles in here, I keep saying versus, if you stick any of the other dial fighters in here, then it'll still be Victory LupinKaiser such and such, you know. But anyways, there you go. And I also mentioned the head a few minutes ago. The head design is very nice, very fuzzy, but very nice. I do like it. It doesn't really strike me as a final form of the trigger machine, the PatKaiser ultimate head design or whatever it is. It doesn't quite. Like I think I could get rid of the. Where's my finger? There it is. I think I would get rid of the little head antenna here, which are supposed to be strobe lights, but except this time the strobe lights are painted onto dark blue, which actually does not help, because red paint on dark blue is not a good combination. It basically comes out as kind of a crimson, kind of something like that. So, but I mean the head design is nice enough. It's just I don't know. And also, much like with the regular PatKaiser or LupinKaiser, Siren LupinKaiser's head is a bit on the small side compared to the rest of the body. It is a bit on the small side. So, but on the other hand, you know what kind of a sucker I am for over-the-shoulder cannons. Well, in this case, he's got a pair of over-the-shoulder missile launchers, which is what those are, and then you can bend them upwards if you so desire. That is entirely up to you. Arms. Oh yeah, there's this kind of final form, final ultimate blast or state or whatever it is, where you kind of partially cover up the head, and you just point the. Actually, I'm going to point the arms down so you can actually see what I'm doing here. You kind of half transform the thing or whatever it is, and then you end up with this thing. So it's like the cannon barrel is in alignment with the head, as opposed to like completely burying the head, which you can do with the toy. I mean, I just did that, but technically and officially you're supposed to tilt it at 45 degrees. So it's sort of a blast deflection thing, so as the thing comes here, like it'll bounce off there. But honestly, I can't really argue with the results. Tilt it up a little bit. So there you go. There's Siren LupinKaiser's ultimate attack. Ultimate attack. Get my hand into a good place like here. So there you go. There is Siren LupinKaiser. I don't know. I like absolutely you should have magic here, but why is there a fire truck? Like the kind of, when I think of overpowered, it's like you can dazzle and confuse the fuck out of them, and then you blast the shit out of them when they're not looking, and then once they've exploded, you douse the city with water. Okay, whatever. As I just very awkwardly pointed out, the combination of having a fire truck combined with a magical blimp combined with a SWAT tank or whatever it is, it's kind of an odd combination, but it turns out that the show provides a couple of official alternatives. in the grand scheme of limb swap and such. Turns out there's a couple of alternatives. The first one is you remove Splash and you add on Crane, in which you get, and I just saw the name, what is this? Siren LupinKaiser Strong. Now, this is going to sound weird, but it turns out that this only appeared one time in the show, and it was deliberately a trick because the Lupinranger were pulling some shenanigans with one of the ganglers, and they wanted to trick him. And they tricked him by showing an illusion of Siren LupinKaiser that had a false Crane on the right arm. So even though this did happen in the show, technically the Lupinranger were not in possession of Trigger Machine, Crane, and Drill at the time. So it did appear in the show, but it was an illusion. This was not an actual combined form. But there you go. There's that. And then because the writers were feeling particularly bad about the fact that they'd written all of the decent Trigger Machines away from the Patranger, they decided to throw this one in as a bonus right at the last minute. So what you want to do is you want to take off Magic. You want to add on Biker to the left arm. And just in case you've forgotten, you want to... Oh yeah, by the way, I completely forgot. Check out this front skirt armor, by the way. That's totally covering up everything, including the knees. How about that? Anyways, fold this up. I'm going to fold this up. And there you have the only time that the Patranger had complete and total control of the Trigger Machine Siren Striker. Ladies and gentlemen, Siren PatKaiser. Here it is. This is the ultimate form of PatKaiser, and I really just can't live with myself because this just doesn't work. Because you've got a yo-yo, you've got a yo-yo that's used for sniping, and then you've got a Crane that doubles with a drill, which is used as a fishing rod. Like, both of them have strings attached to them, whatever, and they're both used for like ranged punching attacks or whatever it is, which... Okay, whatever. I can live with that. But, yeah, there it is, ladies and gentlemen. The ultimate PatKaiser combination is Crane and this. So if we wanted to be saucy, would this be like Siren LupinKaiser Strong Biker? Is that what we're going for here? Which is right up there with, was it, dihydrogen monoxide? You know, it's the same kind of joke. You know, Siren Striker, Strong Biker. You know, do you get it? Do you get the joke there? Gosh, if only I could take Drill out of here and attach it to the end, and then have this go out like another, I don't know, inch. You know, and have this be like another inch or so. This might actually be threatening. And here's Biker with it, the really weird, still yet to be explained extra shoulder joint or whatever it is. I can't even do it on the other side like I want to, but like then this comes loose or whatever it is. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, you've got over-the-shoulder cannons. You've got this. I'm sorry, missile launchers, and then you've got a big chest boner, and then you've got extendable arms that can actually, to be fair, stretch out to either side. That's actually not a bad thing. And then just for convenience, because we've got a good striker here, which is what we're talking about, it turns out you cannot tilt the arms forward by opening up the wing joints here, because if you do, well, one of the versus vehicles will protest. So, yeah. But I can't even remember if Siren PatKaiser has like an ultimate finishing attack or something like that. That you can like actually recreate with the toys or whatever it is. So there you go, Siren PatKaiser. And if you want to be sneaky about it and say that those blasted Lupins always those Kaito, they're always stealing shit, you could also turn it into Siren LupinKaiser. Oh, okay, so here it goes. It would be Siren LupinKaiser Strong Biker. That's how you would do it. So yeah, there's Siren LupinKaiser Strong Biker. Because, there's already a Siren LupinKaiser that's not this, so this would be Siren LupinKaiser Strong Biker. Also, just occurred to me as I was about to unpack Victory Striker that Siren Striker is, unless I'm mistaken about it, is probably the most involved transformation of any one versus vehicle. It's probably the most complicated transformation, barring perhaps Good Striker here. But even really, then you're not changing all that much. You extend the legs, you flip this thing over, and that's kind of it. And then either the wings are open and the nose is down, or the nose is up and the wings are together. So this right here may very well be the most complicated versus vehicle in the whole line. How weird is that? Why am I so gassy? It's ruining all my takes.
5 minutes later.
Okay, that just happened. So I just did a 6 minute moaning and moping as I was unboxing the Victory Striker, and karma immediately hit me. The file did not save. There's 0 bytes on that file that I just now finished recording. Like I was about to stick this thing into the Versus Changer. I saved the file, and the file is empty. Is that how, is this like the Victory LupinKaiser Siren LupinKaiser unboxing? Is this supposed to be, is it all because I don't like this one that as much as any of the others that I like it's is this karma being visited upon me for speaking ill of it? Like the Magic Dial Fighter and Trigger Machine Splash, like that was a pretty poorly done video and it was way longer than it was supposed to be, but like, and then I did the Siren Striker just a couple of minutes, like 10, 15 minutes ago, something like that. At this point, unedited, obviously. 15 minutes ago, I was like, oh yeah, I enjoy it, and it like looks nice, and there's all these ultimate combinations. And then all of a sudden, when I got to the actual Victory Striker, and I started saying, yeah, it's the main reason why I hesitated to get this box and to begin with. All of a sudden, the file refuses to save. Okay, so let's try this all over again. The Victory Striker Dial Fighter is the only one in the box set that I did not want. If I could have gotten the Magic Dial Fighter and Trigger Machine Splash separately, then I would have. That way, I would have had, I would have had Siren Striker, and I would have had Good Kaiser, or Good Striker. I cannot talk. What are you doing to me? Seriously. I would already have had those two from 4 years ago when I unboxed them, and then I would have gotten the two new versus vehicles separately, and I could have completely avoided the Victory Striker because it's the one I'm like, why does this thing exist? Because like there's open hole right there. It shows a little bit. That's the face for Victory LupinKaiser right there. And that on no day of the week am I happy with having that exposed. But the reason why it does that is because when you turn the dial, you get this thing to pop open, which is all well and good. Okay, you got to hide a beam cannon somehow, or rather a cargo container. So it's like so is it like the Siren Striker was hiding inside of the barrel of the Victory Striker? Is that how that works? I don't know, but anyways, yeah. And really, it only rises up. Watch closely. It only rises about. Oh, come on. That's only about 1/4 of an inch, and a fairly powerful spring. I should point out. It goes doing, and you can hear the thing. You can hear the thing vibrating when it springs up. You can hear the spring vibrating. But the other reason why they did that is because it's supposed to be more or less the same thing with the Siren Striker, and that you pull the trigger and then you fold the thing down, or it kind of pops open a little bit for you during the transformation. Well, this pops open a weapon that's already invisible. And by the way, these doors fold open without triggering anything or turning anything. But the reason I bring it up is because when the cannon barrel or storage compartment or whatever, when this lifts up, it also releases a catch right there. It releases it so that you can actually fold this down for the transformation sequence. So it turns out that the cannon barrel slash storage bay is actually serves two purposes here. It keeps the thing from the nose from bending down, and then it's also a neat little cannon barrel thing, I guess. Whatever. Yeah, I'm not thrilled with the colors on this. I mean, don't get me wrong, the toy from what I've seen so far. Oh, by the way, these wings were came in the box. They came separated, so there's the wings right there, looking very hollow on the bottom too. I should point out. Also, the engines, the nacelles, they're octagons. I'm sorry, they're hexagons. They're hexagons for some reason. I don't know why, but they are. So, whatever. This is a lousy video. I think karma's being visited upon me because this is the one that I hesitated the most on. Didn't I say that already? Okay. So, anyways, yeah, we've got a Boeing 747 as opposed to just kind of a generic. I mean, it's a cargo plane. Your final ultimate whatever is a cargo plane. Which, yeah, technically the 747 is a cargo plane. It is. That's what it was originally marketed as, by the way. So, there's things like the color scheme. I'm not really thrilled with the color scheme. I mean, we already had an all black dial fighter in the form of the scissors and the blade dial fighters. We already did that, except that they broke it up by having some silver on them, you know. And this is just black and then dark red or maroon or crimson, I guess, you know. So it's okay, I guess. Uh, but I guess he gets what you pays for. Victory Lupin's victory. I'm trying to promote you as much as I can while giving my honest opinion, okay? Stop bringing karma upon me. Stop making me screw up on this video. Victory Striker Dial Fighter. This video. Now, unlike the big old confusion with both the Trigger Machine Splash and Trigger Machine Siren Striker, the Victory Striker. Victory Striker? The Victory Striker Dial Fighter actually is a legitimate, honest to God dial fighter, so you want to hold your versus changer like this. Oh, by the way, I should point out, do not grab this thing by the tail. Just don't do it because the tail is designed to come off for the transformation, so don't hang on to it by the tail. Just save yourself the trouble. And also, by the way, I should point out, these doors have no pegs on them. They had no pegs on them to hold them in place, so they just come off with, or they don't come off, but they open with friction, and they don't stay in place. Stay. Even Cyclone didn't give me this much trouble. Come on, for the last time.
Victory Striker! One! Miracle Masquerade!
What is this James Bond nonsense? This thing is so weird. Oh, they're still saying Lupinranger. How do I hold this?
Super Kaito Change!
Good lord. Well, I suppose for the big upgrade for Lupin Red. What is it? Super Lupin Red? I don't remember. Or Lupin, is it Victory Lupin Red? Or I can't be bothered to remember. Anyways, yeah, that's Yeah, this and the Siren Striker. These are both upgrades. These are both armor upgrades or power upgrades for Lupin Red and Patron X, respectively. Or no, yeah, right. I'm sorry. Lupin X. This is for Lupin X, and then this is for Lupin Red. So, yeah. What does it sound like when you shoot it? It's just the regular blaster sound. Yawn. I can get that sound out of red, blue, and yellow dial fighters. Just saying. Why would they? I mean, it's the exact same thing that happens with a Siren Striker. It's the same kind of more of a shotgun sound, kind of heavy caliber shotgun sound that you would hear with Trigger Machines Ichigo, Nigo, and Sango. It's exactly the same thing. It's like these are the final forms. These are the upgrade versus vehicles. Why would you use default sounds? Why not give them? I don't know. I'm kind of expecting like a big blaster sound effect, kind of like what you would get with I'm sorry, Good Striker. When you put Good Striker in here, it makes kind of a big explosion kind of thing. Well, I'm expecting kind of the same thing out of these, and I'm not getting it. And I'm like, and I'm eh, just not thrilled with it. So, whatever. Okay, time for the launch. Now there it sounds like a jet. And the basic blaster sound effect. I wonder why it does that. I mean, it sounds like a jet, and although I kind of expected the rumble of a 747, multiple engines and a big heavy aircraft, as opposed to like, small jet fighters or whatever it is. I was expecting that kind of rumble, but whatever. Oh, you know what? Maybe the reason why these make the basic blaster sound, or the basic Lupinranger and Patranger blaster sounds, is because they do not provide additional weapons. It's an upgrade. But the Lupin Red, well, specifically Lupin Red and Lupin X, well, maybe not Lupin X. He doesn't. This just kind of disappears and whatever. But it's not a weapon upgrade. It's not a special weapon unto itself. It's actually the Lupin Red and Lupin X armor that gets upgraded, and then they get a weapon, specialty weapon of some kind or a special feature. But the Versus Changer itself gets neither an upgrade nor do they get a specialty handheld weapon or some kind, or hand wrapped weapon, I guess is what you would call it. So it's not the same thing as, like, say, Trigger Machine, Crane, and Drill. It's not the same thing where it makes the whole armor place, and this has its own unique sound. So I'm guessing that's why they do that. So did I launch this? Yeah, I did. Now, the starting point for Victory LupinKaiser is, well, it is exactly the same as Siren LupinKaiser. The only difference is, well, the head unit. So, there we go. Anyways, I think you've already seen this part where you just pop this open and then this folds down. That's a really ugly latch that comes like right here. It's almost like a microphone for the head. Let's see, I'm going to show. See this latch right there? That's what the cannon links onto, and you can see the additional bit of gold plastic latch right there. Those two things go together. So, and then we take this off the back. Okay. Actually, I'm going to do it the way they do it in the show because I can. The attachment point, which I forgot to point out with the Siren Striker, it's exactly the same. You've got one of these things on the bottom, and you plug it in there. I still wish that Good Striker had the ability to recognize whether it was Trigger Machine Ichigo, or the Red Dial Fighter, or the Victory Dial Fighter, or Trigger Machine Siren Striker. I wish that there had been something on Good Striker that had uniquely recognized each of those. It would have been a little extra programming and might have had some extra tabs to deal with, or I don't even. But still, I would like to. I think it would have been good enough to have Good Striker uniquely recognize those four. So maybe not for clarification, not with Magic and Splash, but definitely with the main, any versus vehicle, actual versus vehicle that takes up an entire head and chest. Yes, that should have gotten a unique sound coming out of Good Striker. Anyways, there's a tab on the underside, and it fits on top of this thing. And oh, this is going to look awful because it can turn side to side. Yeah, it can. I don't know why. Whatever. And there you have Victory LupinKaiser. Ta-da! And the head design actually is appropriate. It's an airline pilot's hat or cap. I do like that. I do like the head design, and I also like that it's not just that they've got the Lupinranger's V logo sitting up here, but they've actually got a crest that's like that covers the whole side of the face is a giant V. And you know what? I can live with that, honestly. That does work for me. I wish I could get some better lighting on there, but just take my word for it, it does look pretty good in there. Although all this garbage sitting up here, I could totally live with it just staying in back here. Unfortunately, it won't let you. So it's like they force you to stick this up here like this. And then yes, you can totally do a hat trick by turning this all the way around if you so desire. That is entirely up to you. If it were up to me, I suppose it makes sense. You would not want Victory LupinKaiser to have like a fez or a dunce cap or something along those lines. Like it needs to be the captain's cap. Like that's what it needs to be. But they still had to contend with the dial from the dial fighter part. So they just stuck this on here as a bit of camouflage. So, yeah, the head just kind of gets ruined. I also wish, I mean, this is kind of the thing with giant robots in general, not just Super Sentai, but giant robots in general. When you try to have a really wide chest, and I have a number of robos over the years that I've unboxed and whatnot that have had this, including Hyper Ghostly Gray. That was kind of a notorious one, I should point out. This does exactly the same thing. You've got this big wide chest to either side, although, to be fair, the chest itself is not particularly impressive. It's just a big open thing. And oh, by the way, didn't we just do this over here with the Magic Dial Fighter? I'm just saying. Anyways, it would have been preferable to have these be an actual chest armor that goes up and over the shoulders. Like that's what I want it to be. That's what it should be. But the problem with that is, if you want the arms to lift up and down, and oh, by the way, there's a conflict of interest right there. Oh, look, there's totally a problem. It bumps up against them. What are the odds of that happening? Actually, honestly, I didn't know. I didn't know it would do that. So anyways, like, it ends up being that the wings actually start to either side of the head and then curve up, and then they go up like that. And the only reason it does that, you know what? I wish like maybe the designers were stuck. Like the thing that I'm thinking to myself is they should have had the wings coming out the sides of the head. Whether it was behind the head or to either side of the head, that's not the point. But maybe they couldn't do that here because they'd already done it here. Oh, I need to open up the hand. Knew I'd forgotten something. Oh, there you go. So anyways, maybe that was the problem. Is that they wanted to do chest armor, bigger chest armor, because, Siren Striker gives big chest armor. But then with Victory LupinKaiser, you try to do the same thing, you have to deal with wings, but the problem is that you've already done the wings to either side of the head or coming out of the head, you know. They've already done that, so how can you one up that while also doing chest armor that does not get in the way of articulation? Except that it totally. That's the second time that's popped off on me on camera. I might glue this in place. I don't know. Just because I mean, it only faces the one direction. So why does the hand even come off? They're like, does it pop off in the show? And I just haven't seen it yet. So yeah. So like, they want to do chest armor with Victory LupinKaiser, but they can't because that would get in the way of articulation. They could have the wings fold forward, but then you would have these really thin chest panels that you have to contend with. So you can't do that. Okay, so we're going to put the wings above the shoulders and have them point out to either side. Well, crap, we can't do that because we already did it here. Well, what else can we do? Well, let's put it starting at the collar and going up so that you can get the arms to go forward, but you also get that crescent shape. And maybe they could have turned it into a backpack, which, again, I think that's kind of the issue. Is like they'd already done that here. You know, you've got wings and stuff stuck all over this thing, and you've got rocket engines. You've got booster jet engines. You got 4 jet engines on the back of this thing. Arguably 6, but whatever. So I think they were stuck, and they're scratching out their heads like, how do we deal with this? We don't want to repeat this, but we don't want to get in the way of articulation, even though we totally have. So Victory LupinKaiser, or at least the Victory headpiece or whatever it is, ends up being a bit more troublesome than it's worth. And also, I should point out, I suppose the other thing would be to have them come out, have the wings facing the way that they are right now, but just instead of to either side of the head, or actually in this case it's coming out of the chest armor, have it come out sideways like this. But that would, have the wings here rather than, oops, I'm sorry. So instead of having the wings aligned here, you would have had like the wings back here or the wings back here, That's what they should have done. Oh, you know what they could have done? They could have used the Concorde. That would have been kind of neat. If they could have done an homage to the Concorde back in 2018, that would have been kind of interesting. Or maybe a space shuttle. Oh yeah, that reminds me. Victory Striker Dial Fighter was Victor. I just want to say Victory, but I keep choking on it. It's like, no, it's actually Victory Striker. Victory Striker was in orbit around Earth. Yeah, so yeah, it like I think it should have been a space shuttle or a space orbiter of some kind. Like they've done all kinds of different aircraft, including but not limited to helicopters. Why don't they just take it to the next stage and just say, it's a spacecraft? Well, they did say it was a spacecraft in their show. It's a spacecraft. It only appears there like one time or whatever. So, why did I get this thing? Well, I know why I got it, but what do you say we get into some other official combos, huh? Combinations. This video. Ah. Oh yeah, I almost forgot this is a thing. Just like with the Siren Striker, or I'm sorry, Siren LupinKaiser. Victory LupinKaiser also has an alternate mode, although this one's not only questionable, I don't think it's even possible with the toys, but I'll find out in a moment here. I'm inclined to say no, this can't work, but we'll see what happens. So basically, you want to keep the arms in place, and you want to convert Good Striker back into his Lupin configuration or whatever. So you want him to do this. And yeah, I mean that's okay. That's okay. I like just whatever. Shut up. That's the thing. But then it says the Victory Striker sits on top. And no, it cannot. No, it cannot. It does not. It simply does not. I seriously doubt that if I pulled out the instructions, it'd actually be able to accomplish this. I don't think it can do this. Yeah, so the flight mode or whatever it is, no, you cannot. That just no, it doesn't do it. There's nowhere for this to tab in. Like I understand why they did that. It would have been nice because like this thing is just there's so many things that go wrong with this. I honestly don't know where to start. This might be a case of one of those things where like they put it in the show just to I mean like you could kind of cheat with Siren Striker. So they tried like with the toys are like okay yeah the toy can do this, but when they realized that they had finished designing the Victory Striker, they had something for Siren Striker, but they didn't have anything for Victory Striker. So like Toei came up with this, but the toys couldn't do it. So, and no, there is no mention of the flight mode in Victory Striker's instructions. Nope. Nope. All that it does is it says, here's the thing, it pops open. Oh, are there any warnings for kids? No, there are not. How about that? That's rare, by the way. Yeah, it's just yeah, that's all there is to it. So Patranger. So like you can just put the legs together, fold the electronic brick up, and then you're good. I guess. So aside from yet another disappointment from the Victory Striker Dial Fighter, it turns out that Victory LupinKaiser actually has a couple of alternate combined forms. Let's check them out real quick. My desk is covered in versus vehicles right now, and ordinarily it's not like that. So this is just I've got no room. Ah. Oh boy, here I am teaming up my two least favorite Dial Fighters with my absolute favorite Dial Fighter. For the first and thus far potentially only time ever, we have what are you called? Victory LupinKaiser Cyclone Knight. Wow, that is a mouthful. Victory LupinKaiser Cyclone Knight. Don't get me wrong, that sounds really, really amazing. But what it took to get here, I'm not certain if it was worth the cost. And by the way, I mean here it is. Here's the proof, and the proof is in the pudding. You've got an all-black Dial Fighter with silver as the alternate. And by the way, is it just me or does that look like an M on the screen there? Kind of looks like an M. Magic! Or would it be mighty? Whatever. Anyways, you already have I can't fucking talk today. A Dial Fighter that is primarily black, because you know each of the Dial Fighters is a primary color, and then there's usually silver or black somewhere on it. Well, in this case, the colors are reversed. With Scissors and Blade Dial Fighters, they're primarily black, and then they have silver as their highlight. You know, which is fine, which you know whatever. But then the problem with Victory Striker, I want to say Victory Dial Fighter, but I keep tripping over. Okay. This video is just, I cannot talk. Get over it. Okay, so Victory Striker has the problem with it is also black, but then its offset colors are red or you know crimson in the case of crimson in the case of the stripe here, which and the leading edge of the wings I don't even. And then you've got red on the head, which I should point out, the red is actually better than it is on LupinKaiser. Siren PatKaiser. Siren PatKaiser is what I'm going for. I'm sorry. And then it's gold, which again I've got no problem with the gold. It should be gold. I'm not opposed to that. What I'm opposed to is that maroon color. It's primary. The whole thing is black, and then it has maroon as its secondary color, and I'm like, That's not how you do it. This is really, really not how you do it. I want to turn the hat around. That is funny to me. So yeah, there you go. Victory LupinKaiser Cyclone Knight. It's a bit of a beast right there. A bit. Okay. So I knew that this combination existed. I just didn't know the names of it. I just looked up the name on the wiki and I'm like, you got to be kidding me, really? So here we have Victory LupinKaiser Blue and Yellow. Huh? By the way, speaking of ironic, when I got my Siren Striker back into the late 2018, or was it early 2019? Early 2019. When I got my Siren Striker, I said that kind of like I wasn't interested in getting any of the other trigger machines at the time. So basically, it was Siren PatKaiser, except that it had Nigo and Sango still attached to it, and that's what I called, uh, Siren Lupin or Siren PatKaiser. I'm sorry. And so here it is, a little over 3.5 years later, and now I'm doing the reverse with LupinKaiser. Now I've got LupinKaiser, or I should say Victory LupinKaiser, with the regular blue and yellow arms attached to it. So there's Victory, Victory LupinKaiser blue and yellow. I should have called it like Victory LupinKaiser Standard or Victory LupinKaiser Triumph or I don't know, whatever. It's kind of dumb. Oh, is that it? Oh, that's it. Okay. All right, that's it for official combinations.